presentation of the Oregon Sports Network.
And Oregon is going to play in the national championship game.
This is Duck Insider.
These are good problems to have, right? So much success that you have more than one place to be.
5-3, touchdown, Oregon.
Off a dribble, launches, and hits the three. Oregon leads.
What a great opportunity it is to be able to play at University of Oregon.
I'm just incredibly proud to be a part of something like this.
She wants another three.
Oh, 3 in a row. Oregon is headed to the Super Regional.
Big Ten champions, your Oregon Ducks.
We are so privileged and so fortunate. We get to see all these young people. We get to see this incredible growth, which is what college is all about.
This is Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield, presented by OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Now let's go live to the Country Financial Studio to talk Oregon Duck Athletics.
Duck Insider here on a Wednesday inside the Country Financial Studio. Ryan Milano here with you, breaking down what is a double-header Wednesday night for Oregon men's and women's basketball, both of which on the road. It gets started with the women who are at Nebraska tonight. Tip-off at 5 o'clock. Chris Clayton will have pregame at 4:30 for you on the Oregon Sports Network that is televised on Big Ten Plus. Oregon men's basketball getting tipped 30 minutes after the women do, so pregame will start right about tip-off of the women's game for men's basketball, and Joey on the road with the men's basketball team at Iowa. Tip 5:30, that game televised on Big Ten Network, and Joey will have it for you. Pregame at 5, tip-off at 5:30, women's basketball pregame at 4:30, tip-off at 5. Watch both, listen to both, do it all. Do the whole thing. Also, got Oregon softball preview for you on the show today. They have traveled down in Palm Springs, California as we speak, preparing for the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. Doubleheader to start off their day before we take air tomorrow. They'll probably be in that second game of the doubleheader right in the 1 o'clock hour when we are on the air. Difficult opponents, Cal, Tennessee, to open up the weekend for Oregon. What is a 5-game stretch down at the Mary Nutter. That's going to be a real challenge for Missy Lombardi's crew. She'll preview that on the show today as well. Also, men's golf in action at the Prestige currently after a very strong round 1. Not as good of a result in round 2. Now battling back in round 3. Oregon men's golf working their way through. But no time to delay. Oregon men's basketball on the road today against Iowa. Part of our Toyota coaches interviews, Joey Mack, Oregon assistant coach, Oregon strength coach in studio, Cliff Spiller, talking about how he gets the athletes prepared to play in the off-season, in-season, his journey, all of the above, and Cliff Spiller getting to know the Oregon strength coach that makes guys in a tank top sport look pretty good. Pretty good. Cliff Spiller, Joey Mack talked late last week, previewing what is going to be a stretch run for Oregon men's basketball.
Cliff Spiller has ever joined us in the Country Financial Studio. Cliff, thanks for being here. Made the trek over, running strength and conditioning at Matthew Knight Arena for the men's basketball team. That's a big job, and I want to cover a lot of that. But first, Cliff, I didn't warn you, we have a tradition. You have to tell your 2-minute life story. First time you've ever been on the show. We are competitive. I have the utmost faith that you will be able to beat Jackson Shellstad's minute 58. The goal is to get as close to 2 minutes as possible. Josh Jameson did it in about 2:38.
Okay.
So close to 2 minutes as possible. The stopwatch is going. The 2-minute life story of Cliff Spiller. Go.
All right. So born and raised in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Played college basketball, Wagner College. Fun fact: I played for Dan Hurley, so I know. Oh. So most people don't know that. I get a lot of questions about what it was like playing for him.
Interesting.
Always had a love for strength and conditioning. Started in high school, transitioned into college. Once I graduated college, that transitioned to a career. Another fun fact, my first job out of college was working at Apple, the Apple store back in Atlantic City.
All right.
So that initially transitioned to me becoming a personal trainer, then strength and conditioning coach. Kind of started reaching out to strength coaches in the area, which led for me to get connected with a school back home. It's called Stockton University, so I know the strength coach there. That led to me getting introduced to the 76ers, which began my NBA journey.
Got it.
So was with the Sixers for about 4 years. Started 2 years with a big club, then went down to the G League to be their head strength coach. And then that ended up, that my time came to an end there, so got an opportunity to move out west, which started with the Phoenix Suns. Unfortunately, that was during the same year COVID hit, so I was out there for 6 months and returned back to market. During that time, I just continued to network, find ways to get better. Ended up getting a massage license, which through my connection and reaching out to people led from opportunity with the Utah Jazz that ended up being with them for 2 years. And how I ended up here was, I had an itch to kind of start leading my own program, start making my own name for myself, if you want to say it, or just being a leader of young men. So Oregon was a great opportunity that fell in my lap. I thought it was a good, just the right time to move. Winning culture. Coach Altman is a great coach. Was looking to learn just how to establish what winning looks like. And for me, being an NBA, I'm always dusting off the statues, but now being in college, I get to build them. So that's the fun part of it now.
205.22.
All right, there's a consolation prize for that.
That's close to leaderboard category. I mean, actually, you're on the leaderboard. You just did it better than Bo Nix's minute 53. So I say that's pretty darn good. You're on the leaderboard now. Cliff Spiller, 205.22. So I don't know if this is true, but we've always thought that basketball players, because of the shot clock mentality, basketball players do really well with the 2-minute life story. And then similar quarterbacks, play clock, right?
Yeah,
It kind of makes sense. Okay, so now I have multiple follow-ups to the 2-minute life story. The most obvious, what was it like playing for Coach Hurley?
Oh, man. Probably the hardest year of basketball of my life, but the most rewarding at the end of the day because it showed me what it takes to win, what goes into it. Like, all the little things matter, right?
Did you always want to be a coach when you were playing? Like, at what point were you like, no, I could do this?
No, believe it or not, I was a political science undergrad. I knew I wanted to work in sports, but I just didn't know what. So because I was a government politics major, I thought the initial step was to go to law school. And I was actually going to go to law school and become a sports agent. Okay. Because I knew I wanted to be in sports, but I just didn't know what. So when we had an exit meeting, he looked at me and said, "I think you'd be a great coach." And that's when I started pursuing opportunities. Working with my OAU team, working with high schools back home, while I was working at Apple, trying to just volunteer where I can. And then led to one opportunity, coaching full time. That was a great opportunity, but I just needed to make some money. Was doing it for free, and I had to start. It's 2 years removed, so
got to pay bills.
Yeah, so ended up taking a casino job back home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but from there, that kind of sparked my love to get back into weight training, which led me to become a strength coach.
So, how much did your time as a student athlete and playing the sport that you're now a strength and conditioning coach for? Because not every strength and conditioning coach was an athlete for the specific sport that they're training for, right? Like, how much has that helped you? How much has that influenced your work as a strength and conditioning coach?
It's helped me a lot, but the funny thing is, when I started off, I didn't even want to work in basketball.
Oh, really?
Yeah, believe it or not, because I didn't want to pigeonhole myself. I wanted to be able to work with any type of athlete.
It makes sense, yeah.
Whether it was football, lacrosse, baseball, whatever. I didn't initially want to work with basketball because I've been around the game so much. I knew I would work in basketball, but realistically, I'm like, no, I want to expand. I want to be able to understand the different biomechanics, the energy systems that go into the sports, the tactical side. But basketball just fell into my lap. So I think by my playing days, I still look like I can play. I still look like a player. I still get confused for being on the team.
That's good. That's a good thing, right? That's a good thing.
But then also just understanding, the concepts, the movement patterns, stuff that's needed to perform the game, but being able to help them understand what we're doing and what offers a transfer. Yeah, I think that just bridges the gap totally.
How much had your journey through the NBA also? What has that done for you? Because it's two different things, right? But I don't know, how much has that experience helped you?
Well, the biggest thing about being in the NBA is you got to have a routine because you're on the road so much, right? So you got to have a routine at home, routine on the road. You got to have habits because those dictate when you're on the road. You're getting up at you're arriving in the city at 1 a.m. and you got to get up the next day to play another game. I call them professional habits. That's what I use with the guys. What are your habits? What do you look like every day? being professional, right? What I mean by that, it's like being on time and communicating often and early. And that's why I, try to hammer home with the guys. Like, I'll work with the guys because I understand they got other, not demands, but like obligations. That's the word I was thinking of. They got other obligations. So, like, if you work with me, I'll work with you. But if you don't communicate, then that's where, issues run into where I have to, like, yell at you or make you run. And I'm not trying to do that. Like, I'm trying to train. I'm not trying to be a punishment coach.
Well, and you're trying to build the routine that is so valuable in what you're doing, right? I mean, it is. We all know, not a high-level athlete, but I can tell you, right, that routine is so important for all these things.
It really is. And the biggest thing is, reason why I hammer home on that sometimes with a lot of our guys, because a lot of our guys won't, play basketball after this. So, like, what are the skills I developed from my personal time from being an athlete, working in the NBA? How can I pour into that where it can make you not only a good colleague or maybe a good boss, but a good, like, them guys will be husbands and fathers one day, just kind of give them those, like, tools I've learned. Just so, just they're productive citizens, productive citizens in the world, you know.
Cliff Spiller, Oregon strength and conditioning coach for men's basketball, talking about routine, discipline, getting guys ready to play out on the court. Part 2 of the conversation coming up right after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Hey Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
Back to the Country Financial Studios in 60 seconds. This is Duck Insider from Learfield.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said,
if it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
You know you make me wanna kick my heels up and throw my hands up and throw my head back and come on now. Don't forget to say you will.
Back on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union inside the Country Financial Studio. Ryan Milano with you. Joey Mack was with Cliff Spiller talking about how you get the basketball players ready for game shape. Part 2 of their conversation.
Now, zoom out for us if you could, Cliff. So say, it's the beginning of the off season, or someone has just started with the program. Like, what's the strategy to build in the off season? I mean, you hear guys talking about, right, like the off season work, how important that is. That's you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a large part of what you're doing. So what does an off season look like for a guy right now?
Well, that's a great question because it's very meticulous. It's very detailed how we do things. When guys come in, and I'm going to give you kind of two different athletes. So athlete 1 is probably a freshman coming in.
Right.
Some of those guys will have a good training background, some of them don't, but really just help them understand what our training system and what our, how our procedures are done. But we do an extensive testing. Like me and Jordan work hand in hand. And people who don't know, Jordan Torster is our sport director of sports science. He does an amazing job of just with our testing and understanding our numbers and getting baseline. So we do force plate jumps. Basically, that's just a big scale that tells you how much force you put into the ground, how high you jump. We do meticulous testing, test their hamstring strength, groin strength, their sprint capabilities, their strength levels through our isometric strength. So we just get like a whole baseline, right? And then we use those numbers and we retest to see if they increase or if we need to make any adjustments. So essentially, we do a whole battery of testing. We do combine style testing where we test their, lane agility, shuttle, vertical. I'm going to probably end up doing 185 bench press. So we just, I try to make it very NBA and pro-like because a lot of these guys has aspirations. So just kind of give them that taste.
Routine.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
And another thing is we check their balance of proprioception. So coach invested in a machine called Delos, which was introduced to me during my time in the NBA, which comes from Italy, where it basically assesses and trains your single leg balance of proprioception. When people don't understand what proprioception means, basically understanding where your body is in space, right? So basically just having a sense of awareness where you are. So with all that, when all that testing is done, they're cleared. Now we hit the training part. So typically it's just doing like the basic movements, right? Just lunging, hinging, squatting, pushing, pressing, just seeing how they move, right? And I keep it really simple for like 2 weeks to see how they move, cueing them, correcting them before I add load, because the biggest thing, I don't want to add load to dysfunction because that's how problems evolve. So we do that for about 2 weeks, just cleaning up their movement patterns, working on how they hold positions, which in the form of isometrics. And people who are listening, isometric is basically you're creating tension in a muscle without changing the length. So if you think about like eccentric movements, that's lengthening the muscle action. Concentric is shortening. Isometric, you're creating a lot of tension, but see how the muscle length didn't change. So those are big exercises in our program. And then I just kind of break it up into phases. So accumulation basically means we're just working on hypertrophy. And for anybody who's listening, hypertrophy means basically increasing your muscle size. So we spend about 4 weeks just getting them really big, right? And then on top of that, we spend another 4 weeks working on, all right, now we got bigger, now we got to add strength. We need go muscles, not show muscles, right? So we do strength for about the whole summer, and I mix in some conditioning with that just to kind of get them built up for preseason conditioning. Because we don't get in conditioning in the summer. That's just, hey, we got to get ready for you to do basketball. Because we handle that in the preseason.
Right.
And then when they go home, I usually send them home just and check in on them. Initially, a lot of this, I skipped the part, but a lot of those conversations I have with guys, and this is like for freshmen and transfers, is I always ask them hey, what is your goals? How do you want to use this room to get better? And how can my expertise help you get you there? So those 3 questions, and usually I just let them talk. And as they're talking, I'm taking notes, and I come up with these things called micro goals. So basically, I text it out to the guys. I text them out to them individually, but I put them in our group chat because my biggest thing is I want these guys to hold each other accountable. You say you want to add 5 pounds. Are you eating the right way? Are you, supplementing? Are you working hard? Just create a level of accountability with the guys, right? And once they get into preseason, then we start ramping up. So we start working on more power output, right? So just moving things fast. That's why I become more individualized because I already got the guys strong, bigger. Now my goal is to this guy, he's already big and strong, so maybe we got to do more, functional training, right? Just to get him to move better. Or, hey, this guy, he still needs some work in the hypertrophy strength area, so we're going to maybe do some more strongman stuff, just focus on more of that stuff. And then once they get in the season, I just view myself as a stress manager. That's when practice and games ramp up. So my biggest thing is I create an environment where we're doing something every day, but we're in there for a short amount of time, 15, 20 minutes tops. And it really just helps the guys feel fresh, stay sharp, mitigate any potential injuries, but also at the same time keep them feeling strong throughout the whole season, because mistake basketball teams make in season is not training. And so biggest thing, we still train, and I map it out where I reverse engineer. So we're doing this 2 days out before a game, we're doing this the day before the game, 3 days before the game, this is what we're going to do from off day. Typically on a game day, I try to let them set up their own routines. I just make myself available. So basically I call them get what you need. So I just have a menu of different things for them to do and let them pick what they want to do. A lot of it's like, loaded movement training. Anybody who's listening, basically we're just moving with load, and movement looks like, in the form of lunging, squatting, but may use a med ball, may use a Viper, may use dumbbells. And we're just doing movements that replicate, a lot of stuff they're going to do in the sport.
Right.
The positional isos, what I talked about earlier, but it's just holding these positions, but in basketball style position where they're working in like lateral lunge, deep squats, single leg in the hip lock position, right? Trunk activation, a lot of like core work, and then arm farm, because people don't realize, but basketball is a tank top sport, so
right.
you gotta do, you gotta do arms every day. So we usually end our lifts with like 100 reps of arm farm. So, and a lot of guys just want to get a quick pump in, but again, I let them decide. My biggest thing is like help them establish and support the routines that help them get to play the game of basketball.
When you touched on a lot of the data and just how much the technology, I mean, how can you like put it into words how much it's morphed and changed, how much it does influence what you're doing, just having that data that you can go to?
Yeah, and one of the things I touched upon is just a baseline, right? So if say a guy, gets injured, that's just how it happens. Like sport, you get hurt, right?
Right.
I tell people, if you don't want to get hurt, don't play a sport, right?
It's true.
But just having those numbers to see, okay, if we do get hurt, this is where you are, right? Just to kind of like, this is the baseline, and also like just to get you back there. But then also, this just allows us to see if we're making any improvements. And if we don't make any improvements, then that's just a conversation where we have where, okay, like, what are your habits off the court?
Right.
Are you getting enough, low-hanging fruit? Are you eating, drinking, getting at least 8 hours of sleep? Because there's no magic pill to this. Those are the three things that will, help with recovery and help with performance.
And everyone's a little different.
Yeah, everybody's a little different. Like, and again, just but different body type. Long arms, short torsos, long legs, right? So it's like, not every basketball player is built for squatting.
Right.
But everybody, might be better with like a trap bar, pull, or goblet squat, belt squat. Whatever it is, we're going to squat, but just what's better for your body type. But not to go away from your question, but it just it just helps understand if our program is working, if we got to make adjustments to it, right?
Well, what else should fans know? I mean, like, I'm telling you, it's interesting just to hear your passion, your story. What else should fans know? Like, what's something that maybe fans don't realize about what happens in strength and conditioning and what goes on that fans would be interested to know?
I think the 4-year model, I don't want to say is going away, but you have to change that. So like, I know we talked about it briefly, but my biggest thing is like development, right? And what does that look like in long-term development? And I read been doing a lot of reading research articles about when you're 8 years old to 17, and I'm not going to go too deep into that, but what I think what fans need to know, like our window for training and developing is changed now. So like, long gone are the guys who are going to be there for 4 years. You can kind of build them up. Now you may have guys for 1 year. So how do you maximize that 1 year to make a development? And whether it's like a transfer or a freshman, and maybe the freshman, you see it all the time.
It's interesting.
A lot of guys aren't happy. It just a lot of guys don't stick it out, so they may move on to greener pastures. But that's their decision. But at the end of the day, it's like, okay, like I have you for 6 months, or even one and done. Like, sorry, don't skip over that, but one or done, where they may like be there for 6 months and then declare. But anyway, what fans need to realize, like what we do strength and conditioning has changed now. It's like you have 1 year or maybe 2 if you're lucky, maybe 3. It depends the situation or where the kid's at that to really build them up. So I think you just have to be really adaptable and malleable in your programming, right? Whereas like, long gone are the days. This is always how we've done it, right? You got to sometimes meet these kids where they are, right? And that's why, I mentioned talking about like I skipped over in the previous segment where I talk about what it looked like for a freshman. That looks like for a transfer too. But a lot of these guys have a really good foundation, so it's like having a conversation, like, all right, like, and goes back to me having my pro experience and working with like athletes in different life cycles, where you got like rookies, maybe a 5th-year vet, or like a 17-year vet.
Different points of their life.
Yeah, so a lot of those conversations more like, adult conversations, like, all right, like, I have a job to do, you have aspirations, how do we work together to get to where you need to go to? So I think that's what looks different now. So like the long-term athletic model, and this is something I've really been passionate about, but specific elite basketball players, because now, there's a lot of gaps that are missed, in their development, in, as far as like, weight room or even the court per se. So it's like, how do I fill in those gaps? But at the same time, those guys who got that foundation, how do you meet them where they are, or how do you help them get where they want to get to? So I don't want to come off as rambling, but where I'm getting at, you got to be very adaptable and malleable in your program, your thought process, and how you approach things, and not feel like not one size fits all anymore.
Well, and it's amazing to as you're saying that, I'm thinking about student athletes that I had been around, say 10 years ago, that over a 4-year period, just how different they looked, and how much they invested in the weight room, and all of that factors into that professional aspiration. But now you might have to do it in a shorter amount of time. That's interesting. Hey, Cliff, thanks for coming over, man.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. Great to take us behind the curtain of what goes on.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
you, sir.
Cliff Spiller talking about everything that gets the guys on the men's basketball team prepared to go. Oregon men's golf, they're in action right now, and a hole-in-one has been made. Aiden Kraft on the par 3, 140-yard fourth, got an ace, the first of his career. Congratulations. We'll have more updates for you on men's golf as the show moves forward. But it's also women's basketball game day. Talking to one of their coaches when we return after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/24.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
Dear winter, Toyota can't get enough of you because Toyota's got 25 vehicles with available all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive. And that's more than any other auto brand. So you bring the action and we'll bring the traction. Always Toyota. Toyota, let's go places. Based on manufacturer's websites as of 10/20/24.
Duck Insider continues from the Country Financial Studios in 1 minute on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and I dedicate a lot of my time going fast. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently or having trouble with routine tasks. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services and access available treatments. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time-to-talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Kids ask their parents a lot of questions.
Why can't people fly?
Gravity.
Is the moon really made of cheese?
Yep, cream cheese.
When can I move into a big kid's car seat?
For some questions, parents may not have the answer, but that's okay. They can't know everything, but knowing the right seat for their age and size will help protect them in a car crash. Find out more at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Where do babies come from?
Good luck, Dad. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Just heard from Oregon men's basketball strength and conditioning coach Cliff Spiller ahead of their 5:30 tip-off tonight on the road at Iowa, televised on Big Ten Network. Oregon women's basketball playing 30 minutes before them against Nebraska at 5 o'clock on Big Ten Plus. Chris Clayton on the road, and best part of being on the road is you get to be around the team and someone who's made such a huge impact for this Oregon women's basketball team. One of their coaches, Jairus Freeman, has taken charge of the defense, and it has been an Oregon women's basketball team that has prided itself on defensive tenacity and intensity and keeping the score low. It's been a way that Oregon women's basketball has gotten a lot of their wins. One of the catalysts that has driven that change in defensive identity, Jairus Freeman getting to sit down with Chris Clayton.
Sitting down with Oregon assistant coach Jairus Freeman. Jairus, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. Really wanted to talk to you because the more players we talk to as the year progresses about the defensive tenacity this year and the consistency, I say, where does that come from? A lot of times they just say Jairus, and they can hear you in their head. Why do you think you have such an impact on this team?
I think it's because they constantly hear me. I think there's a standard that I have set from July when I first got here, that it's not going to slip. It's not going to slip because we have attention to detail in July, and I can stop every possession, and it's not going to stop now. So that attention to detail, me constantly just, whether it's praise, whether it's correcting them, they hear me. So I think it just carries over to the floor.
What's it been like coaching this group? Obviously, there's a lot of new players, and it's your first year, so how do you feel like everybody's settled in?
I think it's been great. I think they make it fun for me. They make it that I want to come in every single day and give them everything that I have. So a testament to them that they make it fun and make me want to come in. And then, like, they want to get better. They are asking questions. They are talking on the baseline. They are, how can I do this better? And so I think, when you have a group that's hungry and they are asking questions, it makes it easy for me.
You, as a team, has been able to close out so many close games and multiple on the road. What is it about this team that you're able to get these clutch wins?
I think it's just the sense of urgency. I think they understand it. I think when I'm in the huddle and you call something, they are all eyes are locked in on me, whether anybody is playing, and now those 5 that are playing, and everybody that is just listening. Like, all eyes are on me. Their attention to details. They're asking the right questions again, but they're locked in. And so when I call something that even sometimes for me it may be questionable, the way they look at me, the way they are initiating the conversation, it makes it easy. And again, then I ask them, hey, this is what I want to call, but how do you guys feel about it? You guys got to go out there. You guys have to execute. And they're like, we got you, coach. We're on it. We're on it. And so it gives me the confidence to do some things. And then sometimes I get the credit, but sometimes they're just playing basketball. And I think they have built that trust with each other. They have built it. And so I'll call something and they don't hear me. And my rule is if all 5 people on the court are on the same page, I'm 100% okay with it. So a lot of times they're just on the whim sometimes because they can't hear me. The gym is loud, but they're all 5 on the same page. And I'm never going to be angry about that.
You coached at Oklahoma State and Utah. A lot of success there with NCAA tournament appearances and wins. What made you want to come coach at Oregon?
Kelly called me. First Jackie did, but then Kelly called. And it was a really hard decision to move, but I think he said, what do you want to coach? And I said defense. And when I said it, I assumed like he was going to do the defense, and then I was going to be able to insert kind of my thoughts and my views in there. And so that first day of practice, when I took the job, he said, okay, what do you want to do? And I was just taken back. Like, he told me it was going to be mine. I didn't realize when he said that he meant it was going to be mine. But I think what I loved about Kelly from our first conversation was what he said he was going to do, he has always done just that. And I've respected that, man, about that. And to be honest, I talked to Coach Lynn Roberts about it. From Utah. Like, that is her guy, and her circle is really, really small. And so I leaned on her a lot when I thought about taking this job. And so what he was going to give me was also one of the reasons why I was hesitant to take it. Like, when you say you want something, be careful what you ask for sometimes, because sometimes you get exactly that. And so when he told me, if that's what it's yours, it also scared me. But talking to Lynn, she trusts him. And somebody that Lynn trusts that's kind of pulling her assistant away from him, she trusts him that much. And it made me like, if she trusts him that much, then I can too. So.
Well, anybody that's watched a practice or any game sees your energy level. You're loud, you're energetic, and for Duck fans, I can see it. This is pretty much how you always are, and it's contagious, and it's great to be around. Where does that come from? Is your family like that? Have you just always been that way?
I've always been that way, but again, it's my personality. It's the way I played. I was the loud one. I was energetic. I was a defensive stopper. If you've ever heard my mom come to a game, she was in Hawaii. I think she is louder than me, oddly enough. So, yes, it is part of just me and my mom's DNA. But, again, when you enjoy coming to practice, when you enjoy the people you work with, when you enjoy your players, I think it makes it easy. Like, it is not, some people think like it's a show or it's fake. It truly is who I am at my core, but I enjoy them. So the enthusiasm, whether it's good or bad sometimes, they feed off of it. And so I realize that, but they're a great group of people, and so it's just easy.
So as a player, you were a very good player. You averaged 13-7, but you started in community college, and then you also started coaching in community college. Not everybody has that path. You know, some people just jump power conference straight into coaching. How do you think that molds how you coach?
I think it was huge. I think playing JUCO ball, I wasn't ready yet to go to the Big D1 yet. I think I needed some time to grow and mature a little bit. So it really helped me just as a player. It gave me some confidence. And so when I went back to the JUCO route, it made it so I understood where these players were coming from. But you have two people normally for a JUCO ball, assistant coach and head coach. That is it. So you get jumped in, you get thrown into the fire as an assistant coach. Like, that is it. So as far as like just doing the travel, defense, offense, breaking down film, recruiting, like, it is just two people. So I love that route that I took because the grind of it, I understood it, and I could appreciate when I got help how to just really hone in on what I needed to do.
If you had to give advice to your younger coach self, what would it be?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the process. I think sometimes everybody can look at what somebody else is doing and get a little jealousy or feel like I want to be where they're at. So if I could say anything, enjoy the process, learn where you're at, and then, but enjoy it. Enjoy the process.
I think that's great. I think that resonates with a lot of people. How do you beat Nebraska? Tough matchup on the road and try and complete a perfect road trip.
Yeah, I think that Nebraska is going to be tough. We're going to try to do a lot of different things defensively. And then offensively, we just got to take care of the ball. We got to build on what we did against Minnesota. I think we had a lot of different scores, people hitting shots. Lexi came out big for us. But I think the key is just having the confidence and just honing in on details. I think that's the biggest thing that we're trying to do down the stretch. Everybody knows everybody's plays. Everybody kind of knows. And so I think the key is just attention to detail. Everything matters is what we say. Everything matters. So
thanks for your time. Good luck.
Thank you so much.
Jairus Freeman sitting down with Chris Clayton, breaking down the keys to sweep a road trip for Oregon women's basketball. The Ducks got a gritty road victory against a talented top 40 net Minnesota team on Sunday. All of those same things can be said about Nebraska going in tonight, starting at 5 o'clock tip, 4:30 pregame with Chris Clayton on the Oregon Sports Network. A little bit of a different style of play. You heard Kelly Graves mention that earlier in the week on Duck Insider, but it is still a very talented Nebraska team inside the top 40 in the net, coming down the stretch run of the season for Oregon women's basketball. It's also the start of one of the best non-conference tournaments of the year for Oregon softball. Get into that when we return after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
At Shadow Hills Country Club, we're more than just an award-winning golf course and practice facility. Our events team offers all-inclusive event pricing that allows us to take care of all the details while you enjoy your event. Our indoor and outdoor venues offer you a wide variety of fully staffed options that put the focus on you. From weddings to business and social events, at Shadow Hills Country Club Events Center, you get the benefits of a resort atmosphere and amenities in a peaceful country setting, just minutes from downtown Eugene. Call for a tour today or visit shadowhillsevents.com.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
More Duck Insider from the Country Financial Studios after this on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
When might you be buzzed? When you suddenly love everything.
You guys, I love this song.
I love these nachos. I love our kickball league. Ugh! I love this guy. What's your name? You know what I'd love? A ride when it's time to head out.
If you see a buzzed warning sign, call for a ride when it's time to go home. Buzz driving is drunk driving. A message from NHTSA and the Ad Council.
I love your car. Is this real leather?
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
Back inside the Country Financial Studio on Duck Insider, brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Ryan Milano here with you. Talked to Missy Lombardi on the show yesterday. Also yesterday, Coach Lombardi meeting with the media ahead of the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. 5 tournament teams in Oregon's way from last season this weekend. It is a stacked field. It starts 10 o'clock tomorrow against California, and then it follows with a doubleheader against Tennessee right after the conclusion of the first game. Missy Lombardi previewing what is going to be a tough road trip for Oregon softball.
You know, we talked about mentality. What do you want the mentality being going into this weekend? Do you want to be any different than the last couple of weeks? You want it to be exactly the same?
I'd want it to be exactly the same. I think our mentality shouldn't change because of the opponent, you know, the different opponent. I think our mentality should stay the same regardless.
We talked about the start fast, stay fast, finish fast. You guys suffered the loss at the start of the weekend, but what does it mean for you guys to finish fast and finish with 5 straight wins?
I think it shows us and how we respond to maybe not getting exactly what we want, and then do we stew on that, or do we get up and just continue to move forward and learn from it and keep what we've been doing going. And I liked the response to that loss, and then how they went about the rest of the weekend.
Speed has been a hallmark of your program, and it continues to be, but these freshmen are hitting. Is it complicate things for you, the coaches in the dugout, and how you're calling a game? I'm sure it's a fun luxury to have that power, but just how different, if at all, does it affect just the way you're calling things offensively?
For the most part, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. What's nice is just getting there was one inning where I almost felt like a slow pitch game where you get your runners on and then you only get a couple home runs and you take one big swing. Like, you could see that happen this weekend. So if we can continue to get our front and our bottom of our lineup on and then have that middle drive them in, that would be great.
You're not going to put the reins on Kai or anything like that.
No.
Yeah, just because of the power behind her.
Yeah, no, I think for each one of them, they know what they need to do, and just to continue to have quality at bats and then see where that takes us and then move into the next at bat.
How big is it to have players like Ayanna do what she did in the GCU game at the bottom of the lineup, getting on and then sparking a rally there?
I think it's really big. I think everybody in our lineup and even athletes coming off the bench are going to be pivotal, and at different points in the game or the weekend be called up to the standard to do something for us. So to get her to start that inning and then pass the bat, that she was the one that made it happen.
The start that you guys have had through these first 2 weeks, did it feel like it met your expectations, or did in some ways you guys exceed that?
I think what was nice is just what we've been talking about as a group and what we want to do, and then to see that come to fruition, I think is important, just because they believe in it and they know how they want to go about it. So to see that happen and then talk about learning from that and then what we want to happen next, I think was really good confidence for us. I think shows our team, what we're capable of doing.
The way you talked about your team coming into the season and individual skills players would bring, it seems like almost every one of them is contributing kind of what you wanted, what you hoped for them. What were the keys to setting the stage for that and getting that out of everybody early? But then what are going to be the keys to sustaining that too as the season goes on, as competition picks up, the book changes on how opponents attack you?
I think for them to continue to get after their work, with the practices that in between, and then when they get in the games, to go for it. And you could see in the first weekend, Paige was hot, Kedry was hot. And then you could see in the second weekend, it changed to another athlete. Steph was hot. So if you have a lineup where you don't have to constantly count on a couple people, that's what is exciting to me, is that whether you're in the lineup or you're coming off the bench and you have opportunity to get it started or drive in, the winning run or come in relief and shut out the game, we need everybody.
It's commonly said, Missy, across college sports specifically, that freshmen sometimes don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
They're all highly recruited. They all play club ball at a high level, so it's not like the level of competition is completely foreign to them. But going to an event like this and taking a step up, do you feel like this group, this freshman core in particular, do they not know what they don't know in terms of what's about to be coming this weekend? Or do you feel like they are, because of their backgrounds, that they are just in a better place for the step up in competition, particularly in the circle that's going to be this week?
Yeah, I think for them, they've all been coming to the tournament, just hearing from Riley talking. So they know what it looks like on the outside. Obviously, for them, the first time to be able to see it for what it looks like on the inside. It's a bigger venue. But to me, I think the most important thing that they can do is just keep it simple. That's what I appreciate about this freshman group is they've done a really good job of keeping it simple. And I think they need to do the same thing going into Mary Nutter.
And how about where that looks like, even the game within the game, the chess match of the in-game adjustments from at bat to at bat, because you understand this caliber, one at bat to the second to the third, and how each side kind of counters each other. Where are they in that process of adapting and learning at this level of that caliber competition?
I think they all have really good softball IQ, and I think that just attributes to the teams that these guys have all come from. But they're very eager to learn and understand how to adjust from at bat to at bat. To me, that's the biggest thing you can do is the in-game adjustment. And do your emotions get in the way of the in-game adjustment? Are you able to just stay matter of fact, factual, and be extreme with an adjustment? I think when we started off with GCU, we were making adjustments, but they weren't extreme. And then right in the middle of it, as a group, we're like, we need to make an extreme adjustment. And then you saw that happen. So I was impressed. That was impressive to me.
It's a group with a ton of personality. They seem like they're having fun all the time. Is that continuing to show even in big moments, pressure moments, big games, whatever?
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think it's important to show, you're not going to have success in every single thing you do during the game. So how can you give everything you've got and then from there go back and be ready to get after it again? And when you're not there to support the athletes that are there. And I think they do a good job of that. I think their mindset, they work hard on their mindset. They work really hard athletically and in their skill set, but they put a lot of time into having a postseason mentality and understanding how to do that. So I just think all these opportunities for them have been great opportunities, and just what they've learned just in the first 2 weeks, it's going to go a long way for them.
How would you assess what Taylor Spencer gave you this weekend, making her debut but working back from an injury?
I was very proud. I was very impressed. During her trying to return to play, the stuff that she was doing was, to me, next level. So I think when she was able to get on the field, it allowed her to just settle in quickly because of how she went about returning, which I thought was very beneficial.
Is there any update on why Stacey didn't pitch at all this weekend? You said going into that everyone was going to be healthy and stuff.
Yeah, no, and that actually was what I expected. So she is progressing. So I'm hoping for her to continue to progress into this weekend. But last week when I said that to you, that's what I knew at that time. So sorry.
Was it important to you to have a couple of rematches with former Pac-12 teams this weekend, Missy? Because just in general, I realize geographically these aren't home and home and stuff that's happening in neutral site, but was that something you were prioritizing in getting the schedule together for Mary Nutter?
I think about the Pac, and I just think about the battles that we have all had against each other, and they're unbelievable battles. So to have the opportunity to continue that and to play great softball against opponents like Cal and Utah, that's something that we were very excited to do.
Yeah, I was curious because, the Cal series over the years Chelsea certainly got after it pretty good here. There are quite a few, both here and Berkeley and Utah. It's like that staff is a lot of people who've been here, and certainly with Caitlin now. So I just didn't know if those connections were a part of it, and you just wanted to sustain it, or what it was necessarily motivation behind it.
I think just still having the opportunity now that we're in the Big Ten to still play Pac-12, I think is important to all of us. And I think you'll see us all continue to do that each year.
Before the season, you were talking about, with so much youth on the team, possibly flying under the radar. With the way you guys played in the first 2 weeks, that probably won't be the case anymore. Do you feel like there's sort of a need of a refresher with this team about everyone knows now what we are capable of. Let's go in here and be able to do this again, or, just a refresher about the importance of, staying in the moment and the competition rising at this point?
We've been harping all year about just really getting caught up in who we are and our process, and not allowing outside things to dictate that. And I think it's just the same thing. Obviously, we understand the schedule that we're going to play, but just continue to stick with our process. I just keeping it simple. I think that's the most important thing that we can do. I think this group's done a really good job in the past 2 weeks, and just keep it that simple and sticking to our process. For them to want to be great, it shouldn't matter who we play. It matters about how they step up and are called to the standard on a daily basis, and also in games. So I think if they stick to that, it'll put them in a great position to have success this weekend.
Does that excite you to hopefully see that against a step up in competition this weekend?
Definitely. You just look at the season, and just every weekend is going to get tougher and tougher. So I think they've built a great, a strong foundation. And again, just to continue to just one pitch, one inning at a time. Don't get ahead of ourselves. Just continue to compete and trust that what they have is good enough.
How have you seen that hot start to the bat help you guys from a pitching standpoint, being able to, sort of pitch free and take it off because of the offense putting up so many runs?
It's great. I think any pitcher will tell you you get, a couple of runs in the first inning. It just allows you to just settle in and do your thing. So the run support that our offense has given our pitching staff has been great. And then also just to see them feed off each other. I think that's when we're at our very best, is to come out and get a couple runs, and then our staff go out and get a shutdown inning or get the leadoff hitter out, and then just work on sending that positive energy back and forth.
Do you want to see them, because you can't simulate the game-like situations perfectly, do you want to see a little bit, though, from a pitching standpoint, of tighter situations like they're going to probably come this weekend, of tight game, one run game, one way or the other, and those more critical spots that, like, say, you can't totally simulate?
Yeah, no, I just think that just comes with the schedule that we play and getting those opportunities.
How have you seen the chemistry come together on defense as this group has gotten used to each other?
You could tell their connection because of just how loud they are and how much they communicate. Their celebration, you could see them looking ahead for possible opportunities and how to maybe get out of jams on defense or to roll something up. So I think their communication is really key.
What are some of the areas you want to see the team improve in coming up in this next week?
I think to continue to strike early, to be able to make extreme adjustments quicker for our pitching staff to not give free passes, to allow their defense to work behind them. And I just think, like, when there's opportunity to strike, that first time, strike.
Coach Lombardi previewing the weekend. We got to preview the weekend and wrap up the show all at the same time when we come back on Duck Inside on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Hey, Duck fans, at Country Financial, they make insurance easy. Whether you're shopping for home, auto, or more, their representatives will take the time to understand your specific needs and explain what options work best for you. Worry less and feel more confident knowing you're covered. Visit countryfinancial.com to get started today. Experience more with Country Financial. Auto and home insurance policies issued by Country Mutual Insurance Company, Country Preferred Insurance Company, and Country Casualty Insurance Company, Bloomington, Illinois.
As a local community credit union founded by teachers, OnPoint is committed to supporting the students and faculty at the University of Oregon. And on game day, we're right there with you, on the field, in the bleachers, and in the classrooms. Drop by our local branch today and discover the many ways OnPoint can help support your financial well-being. OnPoint Community Credit Union. People are the point. Federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing opportunity.
You're listening to Duck Insider. Duck Insider on the Oregon Sports Network from Learfield.
Are you prepared for an emergency or disaster? Because it's not a matter of if, but when. Don't find yourself saying,
I'll trust water bottles and a flashlight to save the day, but I'll be proved wrong.
With a tornado approaching, I'll realize that I like a wheelchair-accessible shelter.
When the floodwaters rise, I'll be up in the attic with 20 cans of beans. It's a recipe for disaster.
Let's prepare so we all have a better story to tell. Get started at ready.gov/older adults. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Comes to a gun suicide attempt, all it takes is a moment.
My son, Ricky, took his life by the use of a firearm. It broke me, and I contemplated suicide. My grandson, I was gonna have to be here for him. I still own my firearm. I keep it in a safe because I want to keep my grandson and myself safe.
Store your guns, locked, unloaded, and away from ammo. Hear more safe stories at endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by Brady and the Ad Council.
Back in the Country Financial Studio, closing out Duck Insider. Brought to you by OnPoint Community Credit Union. Now it's time for the Toyota Women's Sports Schedule Spotlight. Coming up later today, it's a basketball doubleheader starting with the women. Women's game starts at 5 o'clock on the road against Nebraska. Men's game is at 5:30 on the road against Iowa tonight. Also for Oregon softball, they will be in action before we take air tomorrow at 10 o'clock early in the morning. It's going to be a matchup against California. Chelsea Spencer's squad going up against Missy Lombardi's squad, the first of a doubleheader. Then it's a top 5 team in Tennessee, the 5th-ranked team in the country, going to be facing up against Oregon at 12:30 p.m. right after the conclusion of the first doubleheader for Oregon softball. KWVA student station, they made the trip down there. That's just the first 2 games of what is going to be a 5-game weekend for Oregon softball. Also, after Oregon women's golf, successful weekend, stellar weekend, history-making weekend. They're now up to number 3 in the national rankings. Men's golf in the middle of the pack at the Prestige as we speak in round 3. Got a full show for you tomorrow, breaking down basketball. Go Ducks.
This message is for Shauna, my mom who just finished her high school diploma. I wanted to say I'm so proud of you for finishing school. You taught me it's never too late to achieve your dreams. I hope to make you as proud as you have made me.
When you graduate